Hi, my name's Christine. I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I can't get enough of this Merry Moose bundle. So it's a stamp set and a punch, and I'm going to show you a couple more cards with it because I love it. I can't help it. So in case you haven't seen my first video that I did, the stamp set has these fairly realistic trees, some cute presents, a hat, scarf, two different moose stamps, so one's full and one's just the outline. And the sentiments are have a cozy Christmas, Merry Christmas, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, happiest of holidays, and enjoy the stillness of the season. And there's this cute little raccoon guy as well. So I'm just going to set this aside and actually pull in the stamps. Don't need that. The other stamp that I'm using in this video is the Buffalo Check background stamp. I have stamped it with black ink on red cardstock, like this. And we'll start with this first card. So I'm going to put the moose out of the way. So I'm basically building a couple of layers on this one. So I've cut crumb cake cardstock, sorry, is what I'm using as my base, as my card base. And I really like kind of the rustic look for these moose cards. So you'll see that that's what I'm doing for both cards in this video. So I'm going to set, I've got my regular size card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. My first layer is this buffalo piece, and it is 5 by 3 3/4. And then I've got another piece of crumb cake that I have cut at 5 1/4 by 2.5. So we'll start by stamping. I'm going to use the trees here to make a little bit of a forest. And I'm just using my black ink to do that. Excuse me. And I'll put another one on this side. And because I want it to appear to be a fairly full forest, I'm actually just gonna go a little bit over here. I'm gonna switch this out and use the smaller tree. They're both in the same sort of design, so they go well together. Now, if you saw my last video, I wanted to keep the background behind my moose because I had cut him out in black cardstock. So I wanted to keep my background pretty, well, lighter. Whereas this time I'm going to be doing my moose in, just on crumb cake again. So I want him to stand out more. So I am going to make it a little bit more dense forest, more up front, so that he'll stand out better. So there's my forest. Also, while I have my ink and my stamps out, I'm going to do my sentiment, which I want to use for this one is have a cozy Christmas. So I have cut out using the Stitch Shapes dies, this label. I don't know if, I hope you can see the stitching around it. It's really cute. These Stitch Shapes, I use them a lot. So there's squares, ovals, and circles in 4 different sizes. So I think these are the ones I'm using the most these days. So I'll set that aside. Normally I would do the stamping first and then cut out the label with my die cutting machine, but because this is a video, I've done it the other way around. So I probably wouldn't attempt this with the red stamps, but seeing as how these are the clear ones, the photopolymers, you can see through them and you have a better sense of where you're stamping. So perfect. And for my moose, we're gonna do a moose for one. I'm gonna do him in black as well. So let me just put these a little to the side. So this is gonna be a bit of a tight squeeze. I'm working with some scraps. There we go. So that's a nice impression. So that's it for the black ink. I'm just going to put that away, and then I'm going to pull out my red ink because this moose is going to be styling. The reason I want to use the Have a Cozy Christmas is that we're going to give him a nice red scarf. So this is an older ink pad from Stampin' Up, but given that their pads last so long, I'm still using it. You can buy re-inkers for all of your ink pads and get many, many, many years out of them. All right. And I'll put the red away because if there's one color I'm going to stick my finger in, definitely this one. All right, so now I'm going to punch out my moose. So this one's a little bit more tricky because my paper is a little on the smaller side, but not a problem. So I'm lining up my moose and I'm just kind of pressing down so that it's firm but not punching through yet to make sure I have the alignment I want. And when I'm happy with the alignment, I'm just punching through. And the last element we need to take care of before we build this card is this little scarf. So for that one, I'm going to need to just fussy cut it out with my scissors. It's really not my favorite thing to do, but this scarf's not too complicated. I absolutely love my stamping, my die cutting and embossing machine because I really, really, really dislike fussy cutting. But sometimes there's no way around it. They can't make dies for everything, unfortunately. So this has, I don't think you can see it on the screen, but it's got this cute little fringe at the bottom, which I will not be detailing. Sorry, I have trouble talking when I'm snipping. Yeah. Alright. I suppose I could go less detailed with my scarf, but I'm still a bit of a perfectionist, so I do want those details to show. And we're almost done. And our moose is going to have a nice cozy scarf, and I think he'll look quite debonair in the forest. Or dapper. There's also a cute Santa hat that we can do, but I'm not going to torture you on a video to do that. All right, so we'll set those pieces aside. So I'm just going to use my liquid glue to put down my first layer. So this is why I like to use liquid glue. I can keep moving things around until they're positioned where I want them, because I haven't pressed down yet. If you've ever used the Tombow glue, you'll know that once it's pressed down, it is pressed down. It's not coming off. All right, so now I'm going to put my second layer down. I'm going to use the Tombow again. If I wasn't posting this card, which I have no idea if I'm posting it or not yet. I would probably use dimensionals and pop this layer up, but I'm going to be popping up my mousse and my sentiment, so I don't want to add too much thickness to the card, or it's gonna require all kinds of additional postage, and I'll have to go to the post office, and I don't want to. So there we go. So you can see, because I've got the trees behind here a little bit darker, we can still see our mousse. I'm also going to put him on dimensional, so he's going to stick up a bit more. But before I put him down, we're going to put his scarf on. So I'm just going to use my fine tip glue for that. He's going to look very handsome, I tell you. I'm so happy they brought this set back. I used it a lot last Christmas. So just lining that up. Oh, just a teeny tiny bit too much glue there. I'm just going to wipe that off with a spare little piece of cardstock. There we go. So I'm going to, like I said, use dimensionals to put him down. Where are they? Oh dear. Sorry for the reach. There we go. I have my dimensionals. Because his antlers are quite big, I'm also going to add just a little bit more in the antlers. So to do that, I'm just cutting these guys down. You can also buy the mini size dimensionals. One thing I have found with the mini size ones is they're just a tiny bit thicker than these ones, so you can't use them on the same, well, you can, but I tend not to use them on the same project. It's either one or the other. And these are super easy to cut, so. And so I'm going to try to put him where there's more black. There we go. Do you love his scarf? All right, now because I've done the sentiment in the black and the same cardstock, I find it doesn't really stick up that much. So I'm going to add just a bit of ribbon behind that. I'm going to fold it in half underneath, and then I'm going to fray the ends. This is the braided linen trim in red, and I am a huge fan of it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use my tear tape because this stuff is strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the ribbon to the label. So that the ends are sticking out down at the bottom. I'll make sure that's the bottom. It is. All right, we're doing good. There we go. And then I'm going to fray the ends. So if you didn't see my last video, I really like this ribbon for that. It kind of makes it look kind of undone, and kind of goes really well with that kind of rustic look. Like so. And because I've got the ribbon, I'm going to put dimensionals under that as well, because I don't want to have a bump if I try to stick it flat to the card. And let's see how this looks. Yeah, I'll have it sticking down a bit. there we go. So this is my Have a Cozy Christmas card. I'm telling you, my bone folder is never where I think it is. Alright, so we'll set this one aside. The other one that I want to show you is another sort of vintagey card, rustic card. So I'm using, again, the Buffalo. This one is a little smaller. I've got 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. So that's going to be my kind of background layer. And then I've got Shaded Spruce cardstock. And this one's not very big. It's 4 3/4 by 1 3/4. And I have embossed this with the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder. So if you haven't seen an embossing folder, they're plastic. You put your cardstock inside, smoosh it, and run it through your embossing machine. It looks like this. The effect of this one is awesome. It's a 3D folder, and I hope you can see the detailing in here. It's just really pretty. So that'll be my kind of second layer. And then I have a bit of a surprise with my mousse. So I'm going to get these things done first, and then we're going to do our mousse because the mousse is super fun. I really want to add sort of a vintagey look to this one, and my paper's a bit of a mess anyway. So I'm going to rough it up with my snips. It's okay if it tears a bit. I'm kind of going for that roughed up vintage, rustic, I don't know what you want to call it, but shabby chic I've heard it called. So I'm just using my snips to make a mess, and the more you rub, the more kind of ripped the edges will get. So you can do as much or as little as you want. I find it easiest to really go in the crease of the scissors. Oops, try not to bend it though. There we go, but it's okay if it's a little bent because it's supposed to be. There, so that's nice and messy, and look at all that red stuff. Clean my table a bit. All right, I'm actually going to do the top of this too. I'm not going to do too much on this one, but I think it would maybe not look as nice if this one was in pristine condition and the other one's so mangled up. Most of the edges of this paper are embossed, so I'm not going to go nuts, but I'll just do some of this one. There we go. Get rid of my lint. Okay, so this layer gets glued flat down, so I'm just going to use my ink to do that. Sorry, my glue. And then, before I put my green layer down, I want to put some ribbon around it, which never goes according to plan on video, but I'm going to try. All right. Ooh, I love how mangled that is. It's exactly how I wanted it to look. I know not everybody loves this look, but I'm a big fan. So I'm going to use my braided linen thread again, and I'm going to tie a bow. Again, I'm not going to cut the ribbon until I've tied my bow, which is going to be a bit of a pain, but at the same time, I'm going to not use more ribbon than I need, which is nice. All right, let's see if I can do this in the first try. Blech. It's a bit looser than I'd like, so I'm going to try that again. You may end up seeing the trick on how I fix my ribbon as well. But I do need to get it tight enough. So, see, before COVID, when we used to craft with other people, you could just say, hey, give me your finger, please, and tie these much easier. But since I'm crafting on video, that's not an option. All right, so that is as tight as I wanted it. I'm going to make sure that it's flat across the back, and it is. And I want my ribbon. Yeah, I think that's probably a good spot for it. All right. Kind of wish this piece wasn't sticking straight up, but perhaps I can fix that with a glue dot after. So now I'm just going to cut my ribbon and get that out of the way. So I will make it pretty and all of that after I've got the other elements of my card down. So I'm going to put this layer on dimensionals because it's got the ribbon and this is not even, and I just want everything to kind of look nice. So I'm going to just scooch my ribbon down a bit. I think the placement is good. All right, so I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of that. And put it down. This paper is, because it's been through the embossing folder, is a little bit on the delicate side, so I'm being fairly generous with the dimensionals here, just to make sure that it stays fairly rigid. All right, I'll go with that. So I'll take the backs off. I'm being careful not to smoosh this paper too much because I don't want to lose any of that embossing detail. It's so pretty. All right, so I'm going to put this kind of near the bottom. I find the best way to do a paper that's got dimensionals is kind of just to lie it down on the bottom and prop it up. All right, now comes the super fun part. My favorite mousse of all is my mousse with pajamas. So I'm going to show you how I make my mousse with pajamas. So we don't need the scarf. I'm going to need the black ink. And I want to get a nice crisp mousse image. There it is. Before I put my ink away, I might as well do my sentiment as well. So since my mousse is going to be wearing pajamas, he is very cozy, but the one I'm going to use for this one is Merry Christmas. Honestly, it is so freaking adorable. Alright, perhaps I should have done this before I glued my layers down, but I didn't, so wish me luck. Oh good. Okay, Merry Christmas, nice clear image. I really should have done that before I glued everything down. Mental note. So this bundle of the punch and the stamp set is, they're sold together as a bundle at 10% off if you are interested in purchasing it. You can also buy them individually. All right, so the first step to making pajamas on a mousse is to draw the outline of the pajamas. I am using my Stampin' Write marker, and we're going to start with a collar, and then we're going to do the cuffs. Sorry, I can't talk when I'm doing the detail stuff. And then Christmas pajamas need a butt flap because it's so cute. And every butt flap needs a couple of buttons, but we only see a profile here. So there we go. So that's the outline of the pajamas. And then I'm going to use my alcohol-based markers, my Stampin' Blends, to color it in. So I'm going to do my trim pieces in green. These alcohol markers, you need a really light touch. They do bleed a little bit, especially on the crumb, I find. So super light touch. And then we're going to make the bum flap green. There we go. Then I'm going to use my real red for the body. These markers are just gorgeous to use. The color saturation is so nice. And I find by using it on the crumb cake, it just looks so vintage with the green and the red. On the white cardstock, they look completely different colors. So I'm going to the edge, but not quite, because I'm trying to make sure it doesn't bleed beyond. Got a tiny smudge there. All right. I accidentally did go over a little bit. I've never tried this on the crumb cardstock. There is something called a color lifter, and I'm just going to give it a try because the marker did bleed a little bit, and I'm just going to try to lift it. Like I said, I've never used it on the crumb cake. I've only ever used it on white, and works quite well on white. Worst case, I will have to redo this guy, but I'll do that off video. At least this gives you an idea of how I get there. You could also color it using coloring pencils, watercolor pencils. Would also work quite nicely and keep that vintage look. So this does dry fairly quickly. They're alcohol based, and where I've tried to lift the color, perhaps it's a little lighter. I don't know. It's not dry yet, so it's hard to tell. But while I'm waiting for it to dry, I will punch this out. And if I don't love it after I've punched it out, I will just recolor it afterward and post a photo for you to see. I think I got a little too heavy-handed while I was recording. All right, so I'm happy with the positioning almost. So I'm just holding it down kind of till there's pressure. I've got my alignment, and now I'm just going to punch. Here we go. So yeah, there's quite a lot of bleeding on this one. So I'm going to put it down so that you can see it, but I am going to redo it later. Hopefully it doesn't show so much on the video. So I'm going to put my mousse down with my dimensionals, with the foam bits to lift him up. And I'm going to fray my ribbon like I did for the other card. This time it's a big old bow. And you can like pull the ribbon out completely out of the weave, and then it gets even messier. And then the other thing you can do is pull on the bow to make make it wider. Kind of almost looks like a fishnet. So there we go. So Merry Christmas. Like I said, I'm going to redo my mousse, so I'm not going to glue him down. I just needed a slightly lighter touch on that color. And there we go. So there's the Merry Christmas, and oh, actually, you know what? To the power of video, I have another Merry Christmas where he did not bleed. So you can see here the finished one, and then the other card that I made with the Happy Cozy Christmas with his debonair scarf. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this bundle as much as I do, and have a great day. Thanks.